eating spiders, licking her own urine, and even barking like a dog. Imagine a young girl so desperate for help that she endured 67 exorcisms and still no doctor was called. She died starving, tied to bed, trapped between faith and mental illness. This is the haunting true story of Anneliese Michel. The church teaches that evil can be personified, but real life cases aren't always clear cut. Take Anneliese Michel, a 23-year-old German woman whose tragic story blurs the line between mental illness and demonic possession. Was she truly possessed by Nero, Judas, or other infamous figures, or was something else at play? Let's explore the case. Anneliese Michel endured 67 exorcisms before her death, a heartbreaking story of how extreme religious belief can replace medical care with the devastating results. Her condition worsened drastically, showing disturbing behaviors like eating spider, licking her own urine, and even barking like a dog. Despite these alarming signs, her parents believed exorcism was the only answer. Refusing medical treatment led to her starvation, dehydration, and ultimately a preventable death. This strategy is a reminder that mental health needs professional medical care, not superstition. And you might recognize Annalie's story from 2005 film Exorcism of Emily Ross, born in 1952 in a Catholic family. She became showing unusual symptoms of 16 fainting spells, pressure, terrifying visions. Despite numerous medical tests, including brain scans, ECGs, nothing could explain her suffering. She heard knocking sounds and voices from hell calling her, leading to immense torment. Deteriorating health by 1973, a Freudian psychiatrist diagnosed her with epilepsy and prescribed medications like dilatin and tetragon. By 1975, things got worse. She couldn't sleep, praying hundreds of times a day until her knees were damaged. She ate insects, licked urine, barked like a dog. Her mental state unraveled completely. Her family, desperate to protect her from self harm, tied her up. She banged her head and bit herself. She even spoke in demonic voices, saying things like not being permitted to eat. Finally, they sought help from bishop, leading to the exorcisms. Annelie's mental condition. She was believed to be possessed by six demons, all tied to Christian history. Adolf Hitler, Nero, Judas, Lucifer, 16th century Catholic priest named Valentin Fleischmann. Interestingly, she described Fleischmann in detail despite no prior knowledge to him. This raises fascinating questions. How could someone with amnesia suddenly speak Swedish? Was this supernatural or a sign of something else? So, the psychological explanation for this, the most accepted theory today, is dissociate identity disorder (DID), formerly called as multiple personality disorder. DID often develops after severe trauma like childhood abuse. People with DID can switch between distinctive personalities, sometimes with different languages or behaviors. Deep religious beliefs can worsen disassociation, disconnecting a person from reality. Research suggests up to 50% of people in the US experience at least one day ID episodes in their life. But always remember, the brain cannot produce language it has never been exposed to. Here, her foreign language examples may not even be real languages. It may be a glossolalia, pseudo language. Glossolalia sounds structured, follows emotional rhythm but lacks real grammar, syntax, or meaning. To listeners unfamiliar with the language, it sounds real. To linguists, it's nonsense with familiar phonemes. In cases like Anneliese Michel, there is a strong religious beliefs, authority figures expecting possession, intense reinforcements like this is demonic, this proves it. Under extreme stress, the mind conforms to the expectation. This is not lying, it's unconscious role enactment amplified by trauma and belief. If you have never heard Swedish, never studied it, never been exposed to it, any no meaningful actions, the id cannot produce Swedish. Science is very clear on this. The id really just access to memory, doesn't create any new knowledge. And Annalie's story is a powerful example of how mental illness and cultural belief and faith can sometimes cause tragic sequences. How crucial it is to approach such cases with both compassion and science, ensuring that people get help they truly need is important. Annalise underwent 67 Catholic exorcisms before her tragic death. But what exactly is exorcism? Exorcism is a spiritual ritual meant to expel evil or demonic spirits from a person or place or object. It's important to understand that exorcism is not a medical treatment. It's performed by religious figures, not doctors or psychologists. For many deeply religious people, exorcism is seen as an answer when someone acts strangely or seems to stray from their faith. It can be a way to regain control over someone who's perceived as vulnerable or rebellious. And but here's the catch: this is a matter of perspective, and believers views exorcism as a necessary logical practice rooted in their cultural or religious background. Meanwhile, science and medicine see it as outdated and unproven, especially when used to treat symptoms that may actually be mental health issues. So, what is the real key? The difference between a spiritual problem and a mental health condition. Thorough medical examination, professional care are essential. And mental health versus exorcism. Once shared the story of patient diagnosed with DID. It's a complex mental health condition. This patient would sometimes behave like a typical adult, but suddenly shift into acting like a 5-year-old child. To an outsider observer, this sudden change might seem like a demonic possession if they are illiterate too. But from a medical perspective, it's much more grounded in reality. This behavior often stems from severe childhood trauma or abuse, which can lead to hallucination and paranoia delusion symptoms common in disorders like schizophrenia. And schizophrenia itself is linked to brain damage and cognitive dysregulation, which disturbs how the brain processes thoughts and perceptions. So these examples highlights how mental health symptoms can easily be misunderstood as supernatural when they are actually medical conditions needing professional treatment. And court ruling on June 30, after her 67th and final exorcism, Anneliese was found dead. Her parents, illiterate and deeply devoted to the belief in exorcism, didn't seek medical help on time. That caused her death was not possession but starvation and dehydration. Medical evaluations later showed Anneliese suffered from diagnosed conditions temporal lobe epilepsy and anorexia nervosa, hyper-religious personality disorder. These conditions caused delusions, hallucinations, paranoia, confusion, and mood swings in her. Instead of healing her, the exorcism worsened her fragile state. During 1978 trial, Dr. Roth testified that Anneliese had no external injuries, stating there are no injections against the devil. On the other hand, Father Renz mentioned that bruises and black eyes. The prosecution argued that epilepsy and psychosis were main factors leading to her death and blamed the parents and priests for failing to seek proper medical care. The defense tried to question the credibility of Father at it, suggesting he showed signs of schizophrenia himself. And in the end, the court sentenced the parents and the priests to 6 months in prison, emphasizing that Anneliese should have received medical treatment instead. Professor Facilitates Godman criticized that assumption that Annelie's epilepsy diagnosis was a statement of indisputable fact, calling it a speculation. Annelie's case stands as a tragic reminder of what can happen when mental health is misunderstood and replaced by superstition. The dangerous gap between the faith and the medicine world, the lives caught in between. And it is nothing but a negligent homicide. Her parents and two Roman Catholic priests were found negligent of homicide. At 23, Anneliese died of starvation after enduring 67 exorcism, weighing only 68 pounds at the time of her death. Negligent homicide, also called as involuntary manslaughter, means someone's death happened because of carelessness, poor judgment, or ignoring obvious risks. Think it about like if a driver speeds through a neighborhood and accidentally kills a pedestrian, they can be charged with criminal negligence homicide. Most people avoid this reckless behavior because they understand there is a risk. In Annelie's case, the failure to seek the medical care, despite clear signs of severe illness, led to her preventable death, heartbreaking example of how negligence can cause lives. And during the trial, Annelie's father showed little emotion, while her mother was deeply shaken by the idea that her daughter's suffering wasn't caused by possession but by mental illness. If stories about ghosts or demons or witches strongly affect your loved ones, it's important to seek the professional help. The root cause of unusual behavior must be identified. It's the mental health, the only way forward is with doctors, clinical psychologists trained to understand and treat these issues. Mental illnesses doesn't discriminate. It can affect both uneducated and educated people alike. If your child or someone you know start showing alarming behavior like drinking urine or eating spiders, that's a serious sign they are not well mentally or physically. Immediate medical attention is crucial even if they resist. Exorcism and other spiritual rituals without proper medical care can lead to slow, painful death instead of healing. Doctors can be testified during the trial agreed that Anneliese died because of combination of epilepsy, mental illness, and extreme religious environments. Professor Hans Statz from Bruceburg University described her condition as spiritual sickness and severe psychic disturbance. Annelie's story is a powerful warning to all of us, overshadowing a science and superstition replace medical care. Consequence can be fatal. Seeking help isn't a sign of weakness, it is the only way to live a harmless life.